Welcome out, ladies and gentlemen, to this upper bracket finals matchup of the Kids versus DK on PL Upward. It's going to be a great matchup here tonight, deciding who is going to go into the grand finals and who is going to get pushed down into the lower brackets and have to fight their way back into it. I'm, of course, Sigafu with Box Day on camera and Mustard Overlord to my side. It's been a long time. Too long, Mustard. How are you doing out here tonight?
What's poppin'? I'm all right.
That's I just enjoy it. Like, you haven't cast it. That's how. Got to get back on the scene some way. No, it's good, Mustard. I saw you were actually even playing in a plat matchup or in the scrim yesterday with DK, even though it was a little bit of a goofy one. But yeah, you've been enjoying it. You've been keeping up a little bit with the current matchups.
Yeah, I'm technically still banned from UGC, so I'm mostly just on the spectator point of view. But it's more fun this way.
Yeah, still able to commentate.
People.
Yeah. You see, you're banned, but you can judge. See, there you go. Like, you're in your right role. But no, I mean, up here tonight, I mean, we're kind of talking about it beforehand. We can kind of just jump into it as we're waiting for these teams to get 9 players on each side. Kind of DK and K&D. I mean, K&D, obviously, they didn't even, or the Kids, as they're called now, they've switched over their name. I'll try to catch myself here tonight. But the Kids, they've played exceptionally well this season. They haven't dropped a single game, going 10-0 on the season. DK only lost their only game that they lost was to the Kids. I mean, kind of looking at these two different teams, I mean, who would you say are kind of the players to look out for? Let's start off with DK. Who are the players that you would kind of look out for?
Well, the number one player to look out for, and I know a lot of the admins are looking out for him as well too, which I'll get to in a second, is definitely Boar, in my opinion. Recently, since Yosh kind of started putting a little bit less time into the game, I think the Boar has really stepped up as, in my opinion, the best sniper in Highlander, and he's drawn a lot of attention, some positive and some negative. I know that the admins believe that he might have used some sort of aim assist or wall hack of some sort and are checking into that. I'm personally not convinced that he is unlegit, but that's definitely a rumor going around, and whether or not he's legit, I think he's had a really good season, so he's definitely a player to watch out for. Otherwise, on DK, more of a curiosity than necessarily like a star player. I want to see how Corsa does on Demo Man, because he has the DM, he has the game sense, but he hasn't had like a lot of specific time on the class. But I want to see how that works out for him.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. I mean, we watched Corsa play the other night. He was playing on Viaduct with his team, and it really did not do that bad. They ended up, I believe, 4-0 or 4-1. I don't remember the exact scoreline off the top of my head, but they looked pretty good. And as we move over to the Kids, they've had a little bit of mix-up as they're not K&D anymore. They don't have Kresnik. They don't have Jarrett. But with the players remaining, who are kind of the players that you'd look out for yourself?
Well, one I would definitely bring up is Slemnish. I think that obviously, Upward is not usually thought of as a scout-dominant map, but if a match gets really close, sometimes you look for either the players who are on, weaker classes, or the players who are on classes that are, weaker on that specific map to really carry. And I think Slemish, he's just, like, Vand is a good scout, but Slemish is more of a DM monster, and I think sometimes, if he can make, like, unexpected plays, that could be huge. I also, obviously, having been a former teammate of him, am a big fan of Feint, although I think Death Troll is also really good. These are probably the two best spies. And, I think that you always have to watch out, I guess, for Giraffe. He's a bit of a wild card, likes to take a lot of heals, likes to play extremely aggressively. I imagine that the battle between him and Corsa will be really important, as will the battle between Yosh and Boar. I don't know. There's a lot of names to talk about on these teams. I feel like it's hard to limit it to just a couple.
No, it's true. It is definitely hard to keep. I mean, when you kind of have these all-star lineups on each side, but kind of as we're kind of bringing out to a bigger picture. I mean, looking at it tonight, you're kind of giving me your predictions beforehand. I mean, what kind of do you think the scoreline ultimately is going to be, and who do you think is going to come out on top?
I kind of feel like being a little bold and saying 2-1 to DK. This might be the wrong map in which to make that bold prediction, because I think that in terms of it being payload, you could argue that K&D have a pretty big edge. But I think that some of the roster moves that K&D has made, losing Kresnik and Jarrett, who are both such big parts of their team, combined with how little Yosh has honestly been practicing with them, I think this is a bit of a cop-out, but I think if Yosh can kind of go toe-to-toe with Boar, that K&D will win. But if Yosh doesn't show up, I actually think DK has this one. So I'm going to go out on a limb and make a crazy 2-1 DK prediction, but I really think it could go either way.
And of course, I mean, a lot of line on the line tonight, given the fact that, again, kind of the way that it works. So anybody who's not familiar with the UGC structure, so we're going to be playing one map tonight on Payload. It's going to be a best of 3 on this particular map. Whoever wins will be put into the grand finals, and they will have what we're trying to come up with the best way to describe it, kind of the buffer, the ability to lose a game in the grand finals. So the grand finals is going to be a best of 3, and whoever wins this game cannot lose next Monday. So even if they lose the game, they still don't lose the title, and they'll be put to another best of 3 on the Thursday. So winning this game is actually a really big deal. A lot on the line here tonight, because it gives you that big cushion. And I don't know if we've ever seen a team get upset twice in a row. I think any team that's won this game has pretty much always gone on to win the grand finals, because even if we did lose the first game, it's pretty uncommon to lose 2 back-to-back. And then, of course, we got another matchup going on tonight, which is MCM and Boat. And you're going to pick up on that? Sorry, I wasn't sure if you got it in there.
MCM and Boat, I'm not sure how that game is going to go. I haven't really been following the teams below these two, to be honest. But I will say that another factor that that leads to very few upsets in the finals is that this is obviously a best of 1 on a specific map. And you tend to see teams in Highlighter that are kind of specialists in either like Payload or like 5CP/King of the Hill. Generally, the teams with like better utility players and kind of more Highlander class practice and experience do well in Payload, whereas teams that can bring a little bit of that 6v6 aggression have an advantage on COF maps and sometimes 5CP as well. So I think K&D probably has the edge on it being upward, but I don't think it's an enormous edge, and I'm expecting a pretty close game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great thing about Payload is it can just lead to so many different things, and Upward as a map is kind of an interesting one because it's kind of unlike Badwater, where I feel like Badwater just you kind of almost always have your foot on the pedal besides the third point. The last can provide some long holds. Swiftwater is just weird and annoying, and it generally is pretty long. But Upward is one of those maps where you can see teams hold virtually every single point really, really well, or they can hold them terribly. And so you might go somewhere between 5-minute times and 12-minute times in the same match, depending on how teams are playing.
Yeah, I think that Upward is a map where you really have to watch out for like overcommitting on points and just getting rolled all the way back. Especially if you get really destroyed on one of the first 2 points, that can really ruin your time. Because I think that nowadays the teams that can really get a good hold on that third point, like last is kind of, unless you really mess up, you should have at least a little bit of time on last. But third seems to be very dependent on how much you mess up on the first couple of points. I mean, there are also teams that can do a really effective forward hold on second if they manage to get out on first. So I think the teams that have like the luxury of, being able to set up a hold on those points because they don't get too wiped and they can all stay on the same spawn wave will have an edge.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just it is that ultimately it kind of comes down to that is how you can transition between the points, how can you get out, making sure. And I mean, that's really what dictates a lot of it, of the times on offense is when you capture a point, how much ground you can take. And Upward is also one of those things, as we do, I believe, have a countdown starting in here, or it should be starting in pretty soon, is that Upward's also one of those deceptive maps where you can get forward ground and you can hold it, but it's like you ultimately lose it because you can't sustain that hold for, particularly on that third point. Mm-hmm. It's a lot like that, where a lot of teams get baited into holding too far forward and just get punished really drastically for it because the cart is so long to push. That's one of the big things with Upward.
Yeah, and as a reminder to those who are not familiar with every single aspect of Payload at the highest level, the blue side always has a spawn advantage, which manifests itself most strongly in the earlier points when you spawn really close to where you're trying to get. So you might see a lot of teams, hold off the initial uber push and get a little overly confident and kind of walk forward, not realizing the other team is spawning way faster than them. So teams have to watch out for that over-aggression as well. I think that, I mean, you're the engineer expert, but I think these are probably, for the best of my knowledge, the 2 best engineers in Highlander.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely up there. I mean, when it comes down to it, Spamfest and Ender are definitely, when I talk about engineers, I don't usually like to rank them like 1, 2, whatever. I just like to put them in tiers. And definitely in the top tier, you'd have to put in Spamfest and you'd have to put in Ender. Really great engineers, and definitely a couple ones who will push the game. Ender, I think, tends to play a little bit more passive as an engineer, and that's not a bad thing. That's not an insult.
Especially
like,
on
that's
Upward.
Right, and around his team, he plays really well around his team. I've always been impressed with how well he does that. And Spamfest, I think he's a little bit more of a fragging engineer, but that's not to say that either of them is like drastically better in either area, because both of them are fantastic engineers. As we start out here right now, getting a little bit of the not the rescue ranger. What's the word I'm looking for? The Eureka effect is the new loadout with the engineer coming in here right now, and so no sentry gun. The sentry gun's going to be built at spawn to a level 3 dispenser as well, and then it looks like it's going to be taking them through the teleporter to the other side, so you can get them all up to level 3 just in time, as about 10 seconds until the gates open up.
Let's see what KND is going to do here. Some teams opt to do like a really early Uber push, but most likely they'll do some sort of suicide wave. Typically, you want your heavy and a couple other people to push the cart while your soldier, spy, demo go for some aggression. So let's see how they do.
And right now, Medic is holding a little bit close to the door. Etney is on the direct hit, so that gun that will take down the sentry guns is a little bit easier. Nursey just sitting outside spawn, kind of spamming the arrows out, trying to catch a spy out there, but not even close right now. As the cart's just moving up. Blues with the Fist of Steel taking out, as they do lose a couple players there, so down goes Giraffe as well as Etney, so that suicide wave, if they want to do it, it's not going to happen too early here, but Giraffe is walking out of spawn right now, and looks like he wants to do something with the Super.
Slemnish did take down Boar, and I just want to point out, Giraffe is doing some good damage here. It looks like a pretty even Uber trade so far. Can they get the gun? That's the question. If they get the gun, they can repush really easily, but they actually got down the engineer. That's huge. It looks like DK is just going to start backing up on this. They realize they can't hold it without an Nimchi.
Yeah, and Feint just so close. He was just a little bit too late, I believe, on jumping behind them as they're retreating. Actually, 5 players currently on this hillside as DK, is going to try to hold on to this hill. It's not looking too bad for them right now, as the first point going down for K&D, or the kids, is if you will, with a minute 05, which is not a bad time at all, as Etney pressing really hard on this hill. Blues peeking with the Fist of Steel. A little bit of an odd strategy, as we'll see what kind of hold we got. Mini sentries on the second point, not the end. The world to do that.
This is the classic DK tunnel hold that they've been doing for an incredibly long time. And you saw Candy's push get stalled out a little bit there because Giraffe got body shot. He's died a couple of times right before a push so far. It's not really his fault because, for to deal with that sniper, but let's see if his team can make some good room. As Corsa gets sniped, that's enormous. Let's see if they can parlay this into a pretty easy push on it too.
And they should do just that, as they want to get aggressive across the hill. DK already backing up onto his third point, but Carl hit around the corner, gets picked up there by Blues with the melee Fist of Steel right there. But oh no, then the soldier gets the force off, hiding into the upper room. Nursey down to an incredibly low health, as Band is actually going to grab onto this Uber charge on this defensive side, but they shouldn't be able to hold onto this or sustain it. Down goes the scout right there. So ultimately, the Uber trade is not really going to do too much here for DK as they give up the second point. And so far have not been able to show themselves to defend any point for any sustainable time.
That was still an enormous play by Bobby, though. You have to give him credit for forcing out that Uber, because this could have been like a straight roll on the 3. I think that DK has a chance to put up at least a little bit of a hold, although they have minis still, and they're giving up some cap time. So let's see if they'll be able to have a decent hold on this point. As Vlad is doing work on the cart. Sorry, not Vlad, Boar. He's trolling me right now.
Yeah, no, that is Boar right there doing the work onto the cart here. It's Bobby and Carl in the upper area. I really like this positioning of the heavy and soldier. If they can sustain that, usually I like to see a black box in that soldier to make sure that he can keep alive, but I suppose if Skis can get out the arrows, it doesn't really matter. Blues is pushing up the cart, and this is really important right now, is try to stop them from getting that free time on the cart, because as soon as you can make it roll back down the hill, this third point is almost all about that cart. Capture time is deft! What a stab! Drop stab onto Giraffe there, and that's going to slow down the push out of the kids.
And in relation to what you were saying about the cart time, and combining that with Spamfest's aggressive NG play, he's building minis right near the cart and just going to work shotgunning people while Band and Bobby also follow it. Looks like they're really trying to get aggro on the cart to prevent exactly what you were talking about. I kind of like it.
But we are going to see an Uber coming out from Giraffe, and we should see the respawns coming out from DK, but nothing really happening from it so far. DK just backed up, soaked it, and it didn't even have to pop the Uber charge. Now if they want to, they could get aggressive and maybe try to make a play, though, in there. Nice kill there, taking down the scout. The cart did get pushed up there during that play, so not the worst thing in the world. So now it's just a question of what do they want to do with this 100%, but right now they just are getting bullied out as they lose a couple more.
I think that kind of swung from them milking perfectly to them potentially milking just a little bit too long. It was really good at first. Now I'm starting to question it. It's a solo Uber on Corsa when they eventually get forced. And Candy has the better spawns, but it's up to them to exploit it by getting really aggressive right now, which I'd like to see them.
Well, and that was a really odd Uber push. I mean, they popped the demo, who, of course, didn't even take any ground off that. I mean, you can't really take ground in that situation, but still, but we'll see what they can do. Oh, the medic down! Was that Death again? Taking down Nursey. Was that a drop stab?
I think Nursey was either incredibly close to Uber or had it. She might have been at around 90%, so I'm not positive, but it looks like DK is wasting no time on cleaning up after their spies. Excellent work. That had the potential to be really bad because if you'll notice, they dropped Vand in the Uber push, which is why Corsa got forced out and had a really flaccid Uber. So I'm hoping that, you know, they can sort of keep this going without dropping their non-demo class.
And so DK finally finding the first point in which they're able to defend on right now. But, oh, Corsa does go down. Yosh with a nice headshot, taking him down. They do lose a couple in the exchange. Edney trying to make a play in onto the medic, not able to get any damage onto Skis right there. And so they're going to able to sustain this. Skis is holding on to 100% Uber, but you're not going to see them pushing with this aggressively. Feint trying to get this cart pushed up, but Spamfest with the mini sentry and playing aggressively, able to defend that cart, not giving up any ground for free. As Uber ultimately does get forced out there, as Skis went down to 70 HP, got a little bit scared, but now Nursey with 95%, we should see a re-push back up here, and that's exactly what they're going to do, is Gruff is going to get the pop on, Slemnish is going to get caught in onto this. Nursey down to half HP, has to be careful when they come down onto the other side. Skis holding incredibly far forward, but look at this, nice job by Corsa, pushing the back. Slemnish still the first one forward. The Powell's going to come in here, the cart's getting pushed up, and DK ultimately is going to have to back off.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, not to call him out too much, but Corsa was showing a teensy bit of his inexperience on demo. He was hitting some ridiculously nice pipes, but he also was kind of playing in a sniper sideline when he really didn't have to, and it looks like Giraffe and Squad are not going to let this go, or not going to, like, let their advantage fade. They're trying to take up top as soon as they possibly can. They don't even have Uber yet, but they're getting really aggressive.
Yeah, 5 minutes and 44 seconds currently through the 3 points. That was a good hold on that third point to at least not make this a crazy fast time. But with Skis having 100%, they might be able to make a play on Nursey if they can get in position for that, but it looks like they're not going to be able to do that. And they also are losing this upper area. Giraffe right now is a really good spot to be able to spam down for free.
Boar on an 11 kill streak. I just thought I'd point that out. He's been doing a lot of work. Yosh is actually doing pretty well as well. Both snipers have gotten some really key picks on heavies and demos, which has sort of stalled out a bunch of pushes. So.
And we'll see what they can do. Both medics do hold on to that 100% Uber. The soldier did try to jump up there and try to find something, but ultimately just found himself jumping back down to keep himself in safety. But here comes Uber charge. Skeets does eat one sticky right there. It's going to get an exchange there onto the cart. Corsa going to get most of that Uber charge defending it off, but no damage is going to be really exchanged here as both of them are highlighted in their respective colors. Etney and Slemnish are going to come in up top, but still, DK is not able to retake ground, and on mini sentries as well. Down goes Corsa, eating a sticky there by Giraffe. This might open up for the kids as they want to continue pushing on.
Yeah, still incredibly good work by Boar by getting some really crucial picks to stall out the push. Yosh takes him down though, and with the better spawns, I really would like to see KNG just try to use their superior spawns and push in while Boar is still dead. They can go straight on the cart path. There's no sentry up yet as well. Yosh takes down Spamfest, so they should just walk straight in through main. This is the perfect time to do.
Oh no, and the soldier goes down the cart, but there comes a spy in onto it, Ender onto the cart, uncontested. And there you go, 7 minutes and 37 seconds for the first round there for the kids, setting the time, and not the worst time in the world, I would say, but I wouldn't, given how well they were playing for the first few points, it's not the greatest either.
I think that DK made a couple of crucial mistakes there where you'll notice that if you're a nerd like me and you look at a lot of logs, you'll notice that on payload map, success is correlated more strongly with some of your key classes not dying than it is with them getting high frags and damage. And you saw a lot of players as, wait a minute, Nursey's on crits. Interesting. She's probably going to run back to spawn and switch off after the trap. But still, fun play. But anyway, as I was saying, I think you saw players like Corsa and Spamfest getting picked out a little bit more than they should have been. They were getting a lot of damage down, but you know, if you get like 3 kills to stall out a push, and then on the very next push they pick you and still cap the point in like a minute overall, it's not incredibly useful. You know, they're getting very confident that they hold off the initial push, but DK with their veteran experience, or KND rather, their veteran experience is having a good repush that catches out over aggressive players.
Yeah, and so now KND is going to be on the defensive side, trying to defend against their time. We will see what they can do to defend this right now, as the cart is going to start being pushed out here. We didn't really see a suicide wave coming out of the kids, but we'll see if DK is going to switch that as Corsa walking up. He does see the crit stickies, but no one's popped them yet. It's just Fan actually spamming them slowly. But interesting, yeah, no real suicide waves from either
just
team.
Spamming.
Yeah, they're just spamming the gun, which actually is a bit exposed, but not... actually, it's going to finally go down, but I don't know if they're going to follow up after it. Oh, but the backstab! Taking down Corsa.
We're in a good position to follow it up, but then, you know, putting an end to that. Let's see if they can push before the gun gets back up, but it's already at level 1. It'll probably be level 2 before they can really get in. Although Boar takes down Giraffe, so this should definitely be a push on the part of DK.
Yeah, look how Van was like sitting right outside, and right now Nursey's holding in position where she can easily get forced if anybody pushes around the corner. So we'll see how long she can sustain this, and the Uber does get popped off onto Corsa, and actually Nursey does drop the heavy right there, trying to milk it up maybe a little bit too much. So a couple key classes down. Catsy's also down as well here for the defensive side, and so no Pyro to buff this back as Corsa jumping over the top. The gun did get pushed back, but it's going to get easily taken down right there. Injur is able to keep alive, but Giraffe's getting pushed back up in the air, down to half HP, but continuing to receive the hills to try to sustain this defense. But right now, Corsa's continuing to push right now, as a Conch is going to get pushed out from the defensive side, but look at this aggression at DK. So good, already taking the hill. The cards are very far back right now, and nobody's pushing that, and that might be the downfall of this point.
Yeah, that same aggression that was kind of costing Corsa on red side is really working on the attacking side. He followed up that the Nursey dropping several players in the Uber, which was a bit of a mistake, by, you know, as they were falling out, having a really good bomb in to end that forward hole, get the sentry early. So I actually like the way he's playing this offensive side. Payload tends to reward a demo man who can kind of switch his play style in between offense and defense. As Corsa still going ham, takes down the gun, spamming out the head. This should be a really easy second point for DK.
And it probably could have been an extra 20 seconds faster if they didn't take so long to get onto the car. But oh my gosh, Def so close to backstabbing the draft just before this Uber does come off. Skis holding on to the 100% does ultimately pop it off. Might have been able to milk it in that situation, as Skis wasn't really being pressured. And now they're not going to have an Uber ready to go here. I don't know if that was the best play out of DK, but they're already trying to take ground, which is exactly what you want to do. But that cart only has time zone on it. Just the engineer finally gets pushed up, but now we're on to this third point with an incredibly long cap time. When we talked about teams getting baited to trying to take too much ground, and DK has to be careful about that right now.
I think K&D has to be careful. They're going to lose their wood, and if they keep trying to hold this, they could lose a lot of players. They're kind of overextended. They really didn't have the spawns, although Corsa kind of walking straight into a sniper sideline for no reason. I don't really understand what that was about.
But see, this is what I'm talking about, is they sustained. They lost their demo man right here. They couldn't re-hold the push because when the red team spawns, they spawn right there. They spawn instantly able to be able to contest that point. And so DK held that forward hold, but look at the cart. It's not even up the first ramp on the hill.
But
you know,
DK, sorry.
I don't know. Go ahead.
What DK needed to do was climb up wood and have Corsa sticky up the drop down, maybe have their soldier there too. Instead, they tried getting a little too greedy and they tried walking all the way forward on the main cart path, and Corsa just got sniped. And then that goodbye with a really good banner by Antony was able to take it back. But the Uber comes in and it's actually been extremely effective. They're getting a lot of good kills, although Ender's on skis barely going to escape with his leg.
Yeah, a lot of trades coming down around the cart, but the cart is finally moving up. DK doing a good job holding forward. Only 3 alive here on the kids' side, as they're about 10% down in the Uber charge. But the big thing is the kids are actually not taking the upper area in the final point, and I think they need to do that now, sooner than later, because, you know, we saw what happened with DK where they were never able to gain that back, so we'll see what they can do right now. As Draft is just actually going to just hold in the main area. It looks like they don't even want to take it, just going to have Etney up there trying to hold it down, but Skis has increased his Uber advantage to about 30% now.
Shouts to Death Troll, who picked Katsy and Yosh as Candy was falling back, which is probably what mixed that up top hold. That was actually all of him, in my opinion. But let's see if the Uber advantage is kind of fading. They're taking a little long. Let's see if they can make it effective. DK, that is.
Yeah, Nursey just tossed out a fake call that might have thrown them off. They had about a 15% advantage that they just dropped in. I mean, they had positioning. Nursey was actually caught up against the wall, and they would have been able, I think, to drop her or to, you know, kill her right before she's able to get it. Boar's going to go down here, being a little bit too aggressive on the cart side. But now K&D, how do they want to push this? It looks like they want to go in the lower area, but they're taking their sweet time. And here we go. Uber does get popped off onto Corsa for this forward. Cassie's trying to do a good job of pushing them back. Conch does come out here as Uber does finally get popped off there from Nursey, who took a little bit of damage. Cart moves up a little bit. Dreff trying to sneak forward to get some damage, but doesn't ultimately find it really anything. And just kind of a trade of an Uber, and we might just see a dry push after that.
That was a good combination of a milk from Nursey and a really good banner used by Etney. He's, you know, Etney, the Highlander main, has been doing some good work with these unlocks, and he's had these really good counter pushes that really just completely force DK off of ground. You see how far back they are right now. Other than Corsa, who's alone, and looks like he's about to be caught out. Sorry, I had a little bit of server lag there, but yeah.
Yeah, I did as well. As Skis actually Slemnish trying to get a frag onto Skis, not able to connect enough. Did not take him to the deli, so that's 13-second respawn for the Pyro as well as the Scout there. And Death is going to try to utilize that as he's getting position right behind the medic, but he gets caught out there. Draft with some good vision as the conch is out on the combo classes right there, keeping them alive. But 20% advantage can be dwindling away. Come on, DK, you got to see it, but Feint takes a stab there. Skis not getting forced off, so nice job there, but did take down Corsa, I believe. And so it did slow down the push as the spies on respective teams doing a lot of work.
Yeah, I've been impressed by them so far, although to be in the defense of both medics, they've done a good job of not being the ones that the spies are picking. I've seen Skis die a couple times to spies in the past, but I'm pretty sure he's been pretty safe so far, so I guess a shout to him. So we see Boar trying to move up and get on the gun goes down, and Nursey drops!
Oh,
Sick
Boar
shot
with the
by
big
Boar.
headshot right there, and the overcharge is on to the final point. 1 minute, 17 seconds left on the clock. DK is in the position to win this first round. Down goes the Engineer. Slemnish coming in onto the card. He's going to try to do a lot of work as Feint gets a backstep, but both of them get traded out. Blue's above the card. He's going to drop down as Edney coming in over the top with the banner, but he goes down as well. But here we go, Heavy defending the card. Time 2's onto it. Carl still outside the spawn wave. He's going to try to defend this Draft coming in, but no, it's not enough. Billy Saurus taking it down into the pit as DK takes the first round.
Wow, that was a really nice play by Boar, followed up by some great aggression by DK as a whole, and a really smart play by Carl, who runs all the way up to Candy, playing around the corners, just mowing people down as they try to come out and defend the cart. And I have to say, DK pulled it out in the end, although they did have, in my opinion, the slight advantage by starting on red, so they knew the time they had to beat. It gives you that extra little spurt of adrenaline that actually, I think, does make a substantial difference. You see teams, when they know they only have a minute left, can have some really nice pushes. As let's take a look at these logs, Sigafu.
Let's do that here. Let me get them up right now. But yeah, I mean, just really good. I mean, what I really liked about that is DK sustained the push. I think a lot of times teams in that situation, they'll get over aggressive and not focus the like they'll spread out too much, or they'll just die. And K&D, the kids, I mean, they came so close to being able to defend that. I thought they were gonna I thought they were actually gonna come back and get that, but just weren't able to get the right picks. But here, the logs coming up. What were you seeing early on there, Mustard?
The first thing that jumped out at me is somewhat the difference in heals. Skis has about 6k more heals than Nursey, and his heals are much more evenly distributed. Nursey has given Giraffe almost 6k heals, which is almost twice as much as anyone else in the team. Meanwhile, Carl has about 1,700 more heals than Blues, and he's, reciprocated that by doing a lot of damage. He has over double Blues' damage, and over twice his kills, and the same number of deaths. So I think this, kind of even heal spread by KND, or by DK rather, is enabling them to post-Uber have a really good push where they sort of blob up and get everyone involved. Whereas Candy, it feels like if their Uber push hasn't done it, they've sort of been mowed down on the flank because their flank is playing so far away from heals. I noticed that a lot when they were sort of pushing up on third. I think the reason that Candy ultimately lost a lot of those points is because their team just sort of got picked one by one on the flank by players like Bobby and Carl.
Yeah, and actually one other stat line that definitely jumps out at me is the stat line of Nursey to Skis. Skis with 23 assists, Nursey with only 10.
Yeah.
And that kind of tells me that maybe Skis is maybe playing more aggressively on the front line to get out those heals in Nursey, and that might be enabling that, particularly on the aggressive pushes. I think that's probably helping them out. Because, I mean, DK didn't look that good on defense, but on offense, he looked phenomenal.
Also, I'm not sure how important this is, but all three of Nursey's deaths are actually to pit classes, whereas Skis' 2 deaths are both to one to Giraffe and one to Blues, which suggests that when K&D can get off a really good Uber, when they can sort of catch out the combo in an exposed position with players like Giraffe, they can really pound on them. But in the post-Uber, Skis is doing just such a good job of distributing heals to his team when things are getting sloppy. That's why he has so many assists. That's why he's only died at combo classes. And I'd like to see him continue doing that. I'd like to see Nursey, frankly, not drop as many players in a couple of those Ubers.
Well, and even if you look at it right now, I mean, if you just look at the team stat line, you have K&D, or the kids, they had 75 frags and 35k damage, and you have DK with 86 frags and 36k damage. So 1k damage difference, so about 1,000 damage difference, but 11 frags difference. That's actually pretty, big deal, and then what that tells me is that DK is doing a good job of keeping their people healed up. So even though they're taking almost the exact same amount of damage, as the opposing team, they're being healed up, so they're not dying ultimately. They're not getting picked off in those areas. And so, but it also tells me that's how close of a game it is. And I mean, you could easily see the kids coming in this next round and tying it up 1-1.
Yeah, both snipers with relatively even frags and damage, and Giraffe is actually leading by with about 1,200 damage more than Corsa, about 70 damage per minute more. He's also died less, but with so much of the damage concentrated with him, it feels like if his Uber doesn't kill people outright, but they just back up and re-heal, and the rest of his team either isn't getting enough heals to be effective or just isn't coming into the fight. I don't know what it is, but they seem a little disjointed between combo and flank over on the kids next door side. And
Yeah.
the one thing I'll say that I think DK really needs to work on is Corsa has to die fewer times. He died a full 11 times, and 7 of them were to Yosh. Yeah, I think he's just showing his inexperience on the particular class. Obviously, Corsa, high invite scout, very talented overall player, and he even is showing some good demo man. But I think that he needs to know when he has, because there are times on demo where you have to peek the sniper sight lines, because if you don't, your team just can't push. But there are also times where it's unnecessary, and I think a lot of the times he died were those kind of times.
And we'll see what Corson can do. I mean, that's ultimately DK. They struggled for the first couple points on defense, but the third point is where it kind of came together, and it was kind of their kind of sloppy defensive style, but it kind of worked out because they spread out. I mean, they're able to get their soldier and their heavy into upper area, and Spamfest being on mini sentries allowed him to get aggressive and defend the cart, and it didn't seem like he died too many times, at least in that particular area. But, you know, I mean, what was it, about 40-second difference? I mean, DK, I mean, on offense, I mean, I guess I would say the kids, they looked decent on offense. They struggled in a couple different areas, but on defense, it never really looked like they had their feet underneath of them. If you were in the mumble with the kids, what would you be telling them right now? What would you try to be telling them on the defensive side to help them out? What would you tell them to do differently?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out that I don't think either team has really done incredibly on defense. I'd say these are relatively quick times. But the main thing I would say about KND is they need to find a way where while the Uber fights are going on, their flank doesn't bleed. I don't know whether they have to play more passive or whether they have to actually come into the Uber. But it seems like the Ubers are kind of, there's like a solo Uber for both demos or something along those lines. It's relatively even, and then suddenly I see like the Pyro, the Soldier, the Scout, the NG, like all these sort of flank classes for Candy dying at once, and then DK just pushes with numbers. They have to find a way to not be so spread out such that their flank can be easily picked off, because, you know, in payload, the offensive Uber's probably not going to be that great. They have to focus the gun, they're going to get forced early. But if you're letting them get free kills on your flank, then if their Uber isn't the worst in the universe, they'll just come back in like 9v7 or whatever, and an experienced team will be able to push on that. So I just think KND needs to be more cohesive with their flank.
And we'll see if they can do that, as the gates are going to be opening up, where it's going to be KND on the red side and DK on the blue side. We'll see what they can do here. As the gates are down, Seek Traps are spotted there by Van coming over onto this flank side with the Bonk kind of opening up. We're seeing some different unlocks from each team and kind of used to the best of their abilities. The level 3 Cinch Gun in a little bit of a different spot by Ender this time, but Uber does come off right away here. It looks like they just want to get Nursey to get forced off, and that's exactly what happens. Back off, keep Skis alive. That's the most important thing right now. As we'll see what they can do in this post-Uber push, but Ward does go down there for DK, so he's going to be down for a few more seconds. Actually, I'm sorry, he's just respawned. That's how quick the respawn waves are.
Bit of a mistake by Slemnish. He thought their Uber was long enough that he could keep pushing in, but it actually wasn't that much longer. Bit of a mistake by him, and that could actually be pretty costly. Although the gun is still up, they really have to find a way to take down the gun. But we see Boris sniping Yosh, and with that pick, I would imagine that they'll just creep their flank up on the right side and get some good time here. They need to push off Uber. They can't wait for the spawns to come back in, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're getting early pressure on the gun.
Yeah, Nursey's already in a passive position, ready to get out. Ender dropped his gun right there, not able to keep it alive, and actually trades his life. Giraffe barely gonna be able to make it out alive, down to a sliver of health. He's being chased down right there, but being healed up by Nursey. Down goes Giraffe, and only 4 players up right now for the K&D side, and they're continuing to lose bodies there, as it looked like they kind of got mixed up. Some people wanted to stay, some people wanted to leave, and it looks like they got the worst of both worlds, as the cart is going to be continued moved up, only times 1 on it. But DK did a good job of holding forward, but the Spy's in a decent spot right there, but he's giving himself away trying to take down Boar.
I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of a pet peeve of mine. This actually ends up getting Carl, but a bit of a pet peeve of mine that I think really cost KND there. A lot of flank classes think their life isn't that important on first because they'll just respawn really quickly, so they overextend on that like left side from the defensive point of view, that sort of alleyway. But if you die there, it makes it so much more likely that there will be like a domino effect and the rest of your team will get caught out. because they weren't playing too aggressively before you died, but suddenly they're overextended because you have fewer players. And that's what happened there. There was just a huge waterfall effect where players like Blues and Ender couldn't do anything. And I'd like to see Candy's flank play a little less sloppy.
And Corsa is down right now, so it's going to slow down this push out of DK. The kids finally able to kind of find some ground as Ender going to be switching back to level 3s after being on mini sentries there momentarily. Both medics holding on to 100% Uber, but a little bit of a game of chicken right now. DK is not pushing too aggressively with it, holding passively in that Z section of the tunnel. As the Spy is going to get some cap time onto this card, just peeking it. Draft's going to span that out, but we should see an Uber exchange coming in here as Bobby coming in over the top. Really big bomb, and they're focusing down the gun. It's able to keep it alive, but finally does go down there. Nursey's going to back out here as Giraffe is the first one forward for his team, as Deft also was trying to make a play. Actually did a good job distracting the team of K&D, and a nice job there by DK with that coordination.
It's incredibly hard to hold against an Uber on red at that point. You just have to split so many times. Their demo man can just literally hit every single player on your team at once. And once you get the cart pushed up that far on 2 and you have Uber, it's really hard to hold. So I don't really blame Candy for that. However, they're stuck on mini sedges, but Yosh takes down Corsa again. That time I don't think it was really his fault because he had to be pushing up there, but really nice pick by Yosh, who continues to go to town along with Fink. They're really getting a lot of picks here, and it's on Skis too. Oh my god, that's unfortunate. I was gonna say Skis needed to get out there with his entire combo dead, but Feint and Yosh continuing to go to town. I think they've killed about 6 players between the two of them.
Yes, Feint was behind enemy lines for that almost an entire time, just being annoying, being a nuisance, and he finally got paid for his effort, taking down the medic there, and that's going to give a big Uber advantage to Nursey. We haven't really seen either team doing too much with it, as Yosh currently on an 8K right now, taking down Corsa as well as Boris, so 2 of the big classes on DK just coming back up from respawns, but really nice job out of the kids. This is the defense that we like to see out of each team, and 2 minutes and 40 seconds isn't a great time for the first 2 points, but right now on this 3rd point, they're looking like they're having gonna have an incredible hold.
KND did a really good job of catching out DK as they were coming up that hill. If you can get onto them early, it's incredibly effective, especially with your pick classes. It's a nightmare to push against a good buffed sniper there, and Yosh, he's getting the 185 and he's just going to town. He's on a 10 kill streak, takes on Corsa again. I think the only hope for DK is for Boar to counter snipe him, honestly.
Well, they did lose Giraffe here, so they don't have the demo man to spam the card, and look at this. The card is being pushed up for free, uncontested. The soldier, Etney, not close. He has the conch going to be popped off here, but he backed up there, and that allowed that card to get up that first hill. And, I mean, I talk about this so much, the cart on this point, but it matters so much because of those downhill areas. You can't push it up for free. Here comes the Ubercharge Nursey, dancing for her life, but able to not take basically any damage there, holding on to her 100%. Wow. What determination right there not to pop it, as Bobby down incredibly low, and now Nursey holding on to that 100% can dictate the pace of the game.
That was an incredible play by Yosh as well. He's just been farming kids, and he forced DK to pop incredibly early. That combined with Nursey's desire to milk made that a completely ineffectual push. I really think that Yosh has to die for DK to have any chance here. He's doing too much work right now. When a sniper's on fire like that, you have to take him down right now.
And so combo class is going to be pushing up the ramp side, trying to push away from that sniper area, as Van trying to get way too aggressive there as a scout, trying to make a play, but didn't get too much. The card did get moved up a little bit forward here. Actually, Spamfest might be able to get to the next side. Ender's going to try to come in here, get the better of the engineer duel, but Spamfest getting up the next hill. And as I called that, the Ubercharge did get popped off here from K&D, but really, they actually lost just a ton of players in the process of it. Giraffe, the only one really alive who can contest this, as well as Etney, but they're both backing up right now. But Yosh still trying to hold forth, still trying to put out damage, but he's going to have to back off, get some heals because he's down incredibly low.
Skis did go down, though, in that Uber. Slumnish chased him down because he was on the cart path a little bit overextended, and that looks like it stalled out DK a bit, although I would like to see them keep pushing with that momentum. A lot of the players on red are just spawning. It looks like they're doing just that. Corsa and Carl are trying to take over that wood area, which is so crucial. And I think this is finally going to be a cap for DK.
Yeah, Nursey went down as well, so that's going to give it up for Skis now at 70% Ubercharge. Nursey still going to be on 9-second respawn with 3 other people, so DK might be able to go all the way to last with this if they can get that car moved up in time.
Yeah, I find the secret to pushing third is really to take over that wood area. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but if you get a couple picks like DK did, then that's really what you should go for, and they did a really good job of it. As the Uber gets popped super early, but it's a solo on Corsa, I think he's showing a bit of an inexperience again. You can't do that versus a Pyro and expect to get good results, He saw some lit players clustered up and thought he had it, but if you're alone, you have no hit scan in that Uber with you, the Pyro's just going to eat you alive, and that's exactly what happened.
I mean, what is even the upside of that Uber charge? Like, what are you going to do? Like, take ground outside the respawn while your cart's, like, still, like, 60 seconds away while 9 players are alive? Like, I don't know. I think they, yeah, as you said, just a little bit of inexperience, maybe just wanting to get too aggressive there. I think if they would have held on to it, I mean, because they still would have had Uber advantage in the situation, Nursey only at 50%. So they had time to spend, but maybe just a miscommunication, misunderstanding of what their advantages were.
Etney, sorry to interrupt, but Etney popping the banner. He's going in behind. He's doing a huge amount of damage. Using that conch, he actually runs in, does a drive-by on Bobby, and then gets out. This banner is actually doing a lot of work. I've been really impressed by the way that Candy is using it. I think that is something that DK needs to account for. Now Nursey has full Uber advantage.
And we'll see if they want to use this aggressively as we've got Skis holding into this close quarters room. Actually, we have 5 players from DK going into the lower area, completely away from actually Candy. Actually, no, they're going to be coming up here. Corsa wants to contest this. Uber does come off onto Katsy right there. As we'll see what more they can do with it here as they want to run down. Draft putting out a decent amount of damage, trying to stop people from coming up the stairs, but DK got what they wanted out of that situation, which is a force.
I knew that was going to be really bad for one team. It was either going to be bad for DK because Skis was going to get caught out to the Uber, or it's going to be bad for Candy because they'd overextend with the Uber, and it went the KND way. As you can see, Death Troll getting down the dispenser, trying to work his way up to the gun. Let's see if the banner can bail out Nursey and Co. as they try to run away from this Uber. But it looks like they popped it a little too late. Giraffe and Nursey goes down. This is really good. They just need to get the gun, and this should be a clean last push.
We'll see if they can do that. Only 4 players left alive on the defensive side. We got Van ×2 onto the cart. He's going to try to defend this. Katsy does come back up, try to defend this, but with ×3, this is going to be uncontested. 7 minutes and 48 seconds, and I believe that's only a few ticks longer than what the kids set in the first round, but a minute slower than what DK set in the first round.
Yeah, this 8:31 time is going to be, it's very similar, and I think that this is definitely beatable by Kids Next Door. They know the time. They've been doing a really good job, well, all teams have been doing a really good job of getting up to at least the 3rd point with only a couple minutes gone on the clock. And if they know that they have, like, let's use, for an example, 5.5 or 6 minutes left where they have to push the last 2 points, it could allow them to understand the sort of risks they need to take. And I'm sort of expecting Candy to respond with a round here, but you never know. DK could, really shore up their defenses. I mean, honestly, the only reason that they lost a bunch of those points was Corsa getting sniped, and that's, not always easy to fix, but at least it's a linear, just one thing that changed.
Yeah, it's like, if you do this better, you will win. Like, you will, and that's kind of it. I got the times confused there, is a little bit so, but yeah, 8 minutes and 31 seconds that they're going to have to try to defend. The first round, DK defended for 7 minutes and 37 seconds, so we'll see if they can do better else. So right now, DK is currently up 1-0. And if they defend this successfully, they will be going into the grand finals. Else, we'll be going into an overtime round as the gates are going to be opened up. The kids are going to be pouring out the doors right now. We didn't see any real suicide wave. It's just kind of Giraffe and Etney trying to focus down the gun. And that might be what we see again here. But actually, a lot of teams also this year just seem to be popping their Ubers right away to get something out of it. But Giraffe goes down really low, and Etney gets easily cleaned up there.
These KD hungry demo men, they just don't want to bomb in. They gotta spam from afar. It can sometimes be effective. I'm just trolling a little bit, but Fate actually taking down Corsa. Despite the fact that DK's down a lot of players, that's actually still worthwhile because the spawns are so good. They just need to wait for a couple of seconds and then they can push here. They need to not overcommit until they get their spawns. I wouldn't wait for Blues, but I would wait for Cassie, and yeah, I think they should start moving in now. Giraffe is spamming down the playground area, which is really important. The gun's actually up there. That was a bit of a mistake by Spamfest. As they get popped early, but they do take down the gun. This could be a successful push if they avoid the counter Uber.
I mean, that gun spot definitely can be successful. I've seen it work before, as Uber does ultimately come off a little bit better for the DK side. They're continuing to hold on to this point. I believe Corsa was able to take the teleporter before it got taken down by the spy, so they're able to hold this point a little bit longer, but with no Boar and no Bobby, I mean, no Sniper, no Demo. I mean, that's going to be a little bit harder because the Soldier controls the flank side, and the Sniper controls his long sight lines. Carl's the first one forward, but yeah, already DK backing up, grabs the gun back there, feints right into the spot, and look at Skis. Skis is incredibly low, able to grab a little bit of health there. Feint wants to get the kill, but we'll see what DK can do as they got out in time.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, this is one of the first times we've actually seen a team successfully get the majority of their team out to defend second. They don't have Carl, and Yosh takes down Boar, which is a huge pick, so this could be a little close. Let's see if DK are able to spam out this hill, catch out this Sniper, catch out this head.
Yeah, and actually, here we go. Actually, 100% ready to go. And it's going to get popped off onto Draft, who's going to come around here. Sentry Gun is still alive. Uber does get popped back off onto Van here. A lot better Uber. We'll see if they can get anything with it. Van's trying to chase down into that Z side, but not able to connect with anything. Blues goes down there, as well as Slemnish. No engineer for the defensive side. Is Board just coming back alive right now as the Spy gets caught out. Skis dancing for his life against Etney, taking a lot of damage. Corsa down incredibly low as well. He should get cleaned up. So both combo classes, they're out of position right now. Corsa might have been disconnected there or was waiting for an arrow. It's unclear. But this is looking pretty good for the kids right now.
Bit of a miscommunication of some sorts between Skis and his combo. Skis wanted to back up, his combo wanted to stay in. It leads to the death of both Corsa and Carl, which should eventually be a point for Giraffe. That being said, Corsa should spawn relatively soon, and I think they'll be able to get a decent third hold. And they stalled Candy for slightly longer than some of these teams have. We'll see if DK could be incredibly aggressive and try to push in the time right before Corsa gets up on this hill, since he has to back spawn. It looks like Giraffe's trying to take forward ground on wood. Let's see if they're able to do this or if they're just going to have to reset.
And Feint took down Boar right there, as well as the engineer getting taken out as well. So no sniper here for the defense, and they're just going to pop in here. Giraffe trying to take some forward ground. Nursey went down to half HP, opts it back out a little bit early to make sure that she keeps her life. Ski's holding on to 100%, but we'll see what we can do. Blues, actually, look at that. He's hiding with the Tomasoff. Nobody sees him. He's going to peek out right now, but not secure any frags. Times a ton onto the car. Times 6 right now. Look at everybody is around the cart, but that can be easily spanned off if Corsa can get some stickies down onto their Yosh. Wants to find a frag, but doesn't really find anything. And DK giving up a lot of free ground despite having Uber charge and numbers.
And that was actually, if you're wondering why that Uber was so terrible by Nursey, that was actually a force by Bobby, who was hiding up top on that little platform above the spawn. He managed to get in and pop Nursey really early, and oh my god, Nursey gets caught out by a combination of Van and Bull. So this is looking like a really good hold for DK so far, as long as they don't get overconfident and get forced in a really terrible position.
And
it'd be good for them to be overconfident.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, and but still, I mean, Ski's holding on to his 100%, not afraid to use it. Looks like, I mean, we've seen other teams in the past, I've seen them successfully use Ubers aggressively here as, down goes the sniper. I'm sorry, that was the engineer, Yosh, getting the snipe off there. Or we're sitting right next to him. I got a little bit confused, but we'll see if K&D can find their heads on straight here, as Ender getting some free cap time onto the car. It's not really being contested too much, as Nursey coming up to 60% right now.
Yeah, I think this is a bit of a rock and a hard play situation for DK. They have to decide whether they want to risk using this Uber, as they milk it long enough for Giraffe to take down Corsa. I think pretty soon they're going to want to use this in because the cart time is getting really severe. But how are they going to use it without Giraffe? You know, this is a good job by Candy to try to make them choose. They're probably going to get out a good force.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a really nice job there, actually, out of the kids. They did a Soldier and Demoman suicide wave, but they weren't able to get Skis to die, but they did end up actually taking ground because ultimately, as you said, they took down Corsa. Giraffe actually incredibly exposed right now. He actually ends up getting fragged there. Nursey is holding on to 100%, gets forced off, but actually dropped the scout there just in the time, and this is going to be a very bad Uber for the kids. They're going to have to back off here. The cart's in an okay spot, but still 2 ramps to go. With 3 minutes and 21 seconds left in the clock, this might be spelling the end, but here we go. Etney from behind takes down Skis, down to incredibly low health, but nobody's there to finish it up. And the kids are not going to be able to do anything with this, or will they? They want to push back up the hill, but we'll see if they can take any ground, as Deft wants to make a play, not able to connect with anything, though.
He's still alive, but yeah, I think that Nursey is trying to be a little too clever, as Deft actually gets a bit of a face stab on Nursey. I've seen that happen a lot more ever since the Spy's movement increase happened, and I think that Feint might have gotten one on Skis a little bit earlier as well. And that should spell disaster, but they actually are able to still cap this point. This is still very holdable for DK. They only have to hold for 2 minutes 40 seconds with a full Uber advantage, so let's hope they don't choke this away massively. Or actually, let's hope they do, because then we get a third round, but, I mean, for their sake.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is also just a very winnable round for K&D. I mean, both these teams have not shown themselves to be able to hold any point, and even this last point, we haven't really seen a great hold out of either team. I mean, the kids, I guess, had a kind of a decent one, but we'll see what they can do. DK, the difference is now is they're holding in the upper area. They controlled that last time. They're playing down in the main side, right outside their spawn, and Yosh is scoped in right on that window, waiting for Skis to peek it. Skis, you can see, he's literally not even moving. He's just holding on up there. But we'll see what DK can do with that 100% Uber. But Giraffe is coming in. They're doing a lot of damage. Ultimately gets a force out from Skis, who are down to 47 HP. They're going to try to chase down some kills. Nursey only at 95%, but able to skate away with her life. Really nice job kiting there. But now this is dangerous for DK, as they are down huge in the Uber advantage.
And not only did Nursey kite out until she got her Uber, but she was also able to not pop it at all until Giraffe respawned, which is incredibly huge. They have a full Uber advantage. And I also wanted to point out some smart play by Giraffe and Etney earlier, spamming out that dispenser so their spy could go behind. That's a good tip to take with you, Kitty. But let's see what they can do here. The gun is actually completely destroying this Uber.
Yeah, nice job there by Spamfest, focusing that down. We're getting a little bit of a server lag, but they are still fighting hard. The gun is still alive. He lets the sentry gun arrow go back down, and he picks up a frag there. Billy soars with a reflect kill. DK holding on tight right now, and that Uber charge was completely neutralized. Skis did go down there, but DK holding on tight. A minute left on the clock. Nursey with about a 40 to 50% Uber advantage. Skis is going to come back up here, but he's going to be disconnected from his combo. The question is he going to be able to reconnect back up, or is he going to hold back on the lower side? It's going to be unclear, but 55 seconds and everything is on the line for the kids right now.
Yeah, this is going to be incredibly tense. They have to find a way to get that gun. As we see Ender trying to get a lot of cap time, he goes down. It's going to be really tight. Let's see if Candy can do it. They have that full Uber advantage. They have Etney on DH. This is definitely possible. Card's incredibly close.
And actually, here we go. Uber does get popped up. A lot of focus being done onto the gun, but it's being saved just barely. No, finally does go down. He missed a Rescue Ranger Boats. Fist of Steel heavy onto the card. Pacorsa raining down the stickies onto it. Slemnish down to half HP. He's trying to dance for his life here with 19 seconds left in the clock. We're going to see how well they can sustain the push. Skis coming up to 80% right now to try to defend this Etney with the direct hit, keeping the sentry guns down, not allowing them to get a chance back up here. 8 seconds left in the clock. KD needs to throw everything they have at the cart, but they're not doing it. Here we go, final wave pushing in, but 3 seconds. It's not going to be enough, and it should be DK coming in here, taking it 2-0, as they are going to go into the grand finals, and the kids is going to be pushed in with their first loss of the season into the lower bracket finals.
Wow, I was completely half right. I was 100% right that DK was going to win, but my reasoning behind it being Yosh being a little bit out of practice was completely wrong, as he actually ended up top ranking in, I think, both halves of the game. But honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Skis outplaying Nursey was the biggest factor in that game. Or at least the combo as a whole, or the heals being distributed along more players on DK. Once again, Skis in that second half getting consistently more heals. Their heavy Carl being almost twice as healed without any real downside, it seems, to the stats for the rest of their players. And I just think in those super situations, DK was able to get so many different players involved and really collapse on top of Kids Next Door. And the same can't be said for Kids Next Door. They had these Uber trades, but if the Uber itself didn't get a lot of kills, then there was nowhere to go. And I mean, you did see that in that second half, Giraffe did 520 DP. He top damaged in the server, but you know, there was no follow-up. And I don't know if I don't think that's Giraffe's fault per se, but I think that if K&D could have had more cohesion in that post-Uber aggression, they really could have gotten more of these points.
All right, and we're actually going to cut coverage of the post-game of it. Congratulations to DK. Guys, we're going to be switching over. Currently, MCM versus Boat. This is the decider of who's going to play K&D in that lower bracket finals. Currently 1-1. So let's get jumped into that server, guys, and we'll get ready. We can talk a little bit about the DK K&D matchup and what kind of happened there. But let's get ready to go, as we'll be seeing another overtime round, as we're going to be bringing you double coverage here tonight. But yeah, I mean... Go ahead.
Trying to take a quick look at these teams, thinking about which players to watch out for. I seem to remember that Ezric has been having a decent season on Demo Man, and I've heard of Watterson on Sniper, and I know of Penguin on Soldier and Psyop on Scout, but doesn't Boat usually have Fusion? Is he just Gonzo right now?
Yeah, so they usually have Fusion. It's Psyop, who's currently going to be playing Scout for them, as well as they also have Wanko. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it.
That's Rolling, also known as Rolling, yeah.
I don't have him aliased on my screen as, but he's a ringer as well. And then also they're missing Brick, who was away at a wedding. He's been gone for the last 3 games, and I'm sure that's hurting them as well. So this is pretty big for MCM. I mean, I don't think they had high expectations, but I mean, right now, MCM is playing for a chance to go into the 3rd place. But I mean, as we're kind of waiting for these teams to get readied up, we can go back and kind of jump back here. As so hopefully it's not too bad for the viewers here, but kind of talking about the DK, I mean, kind of what were the points, or where do you think kind of the falling out was for K&D ultimately? You said it was kind of like Nursey maybe being a little bit more outplayed by Skis there, you know, which is, yeah, strange words to say out loud. Yeah. But was there other kind of matchups that you saw kind of making, or ultimately affecting the game?
It was just it was hard to pinpoint on a particular player because it seemed like more of a team cohesion thing where various players on be on the flank just seemed to get caught out. I don't know if they were getting enough heals. I think Blues had a very poor game, but it's hard to really expect much from a heavy who only gets 12% heals unless he's really accustomed to that flank-heavy playstyle. So I'm not sure how much that can be blamed on him, but he didn't really have a big impact that game. Etney had some incredibly good banner use, but I actually thought Bobby played incredibly well as well. He had a really good job blocking that cart on the third point. I noticed him getting a lot of kills on the scout and the NG and such. He also got some nice forces. I don't know, I just think that K&D let too many of their players die in those close 2 or 5. I mean,
so
looking at the total combined logs, Giraffe and Yosh both played about as well as you would expect players of their caliber to play, but Blues really struggling that game, Catsy not doing a huge amount, but really, I see the difference between Skis and Nursey, and Skis getting over 10,000 more heals total in the game, dying once less, but getting 16 more assists. Neither medic, actually Skis didn't drop at all, and Nursey dropped once, but I just think that Skis played really well that game. I don't even think Nursey necessarily played poorly. I just think Skis had a really, really strong game on med.
Yeah, I mean, he just seemed to be doing a good job, and we saw in the first round he was just getting so many more assists than Nursey, and it just seemed he wasn't kind of, I mean, never really seemed to be dying at the wrong times. I mean, there's never really a good time for a medic to die, but I mean, really those critical junctures where, you know, a medic death can just spell the end of your game. You know, it's one of those things where it's like he seemed to be not doing too bad at all. As guys, we are continuing on. If you are joining us out here from any other streams, just to kind of give you guys an up-to-date, currently we're waiting on MCM versus Boat. They're currently discussing. I don't know who's going to go first or exactly what they're figuring out, so we're going to give you guys some bonus coverage here of the lower bracket semifinals. We were just covering DK versus K&D, the kids, if you will. And the kids losing the first game of the entire season against DK. And we can see what we can do with this. But yeah, I mean, just a great matchup there. So I'll be putting it up later. But let me see. I'm going to try to take a look at these stats myself. I haven't had a chance to really jump at them.
As you're doing that, I just want to say, I've been looking at the stats from the previous 2 rounds between Boat and MCM. One thing I've noticed is that Watterson, in particular, the sniper for MCM, has been having an incredible game. He actually top-fragged both halves, including the one where his team lost. He's having an enormous impact right now, and if your sniper's fragging on upward, that could be huge. So I think that the flank classes will be a little more talented on Boat with Syath and Penguin there, even though they're missing Fusion, who I think was inarguably their best player. He's an incredibly good scout. I think that they might have a bit more 6v6 kind of IM experience on that side, so maybe they can get some nice aggression going. And it's really between that and the sniping from Watterson, from what I've seen.
Yeah, and we actually, Voxday, our cameraman here, is one of the leaders, I believe, of MCM. Do you want to jump in here and kind of give us some insight on this matchup and kind of what's going on here tonight?
Sure, yeah. Well, you know, here I am, the man behind the curtain. Yeah, I mean, so what we're going to be seeing here, and I mean, you already touched on it a bit, Mustard. Oh, and I'm going to get cut off. So I guess we're going live.
Yeah, no, but you feel free. I mean, we got 60 seconds starting up here, Vox Day.
Sure.
And not a lot of camera work. Yeah, if you can finish your thought.
Yeah, so Watterson, I mean, you already saw how much of a big threat he can be, and we're probably going to see him continue his dominance. One of the big things I thought was going to be an issue coming into this was to see if Smiles could do a good job at preventing him from doing what he's been doing and tearing up the snipers this season. And it looks like Watterson's getting the better of him so far. I was kind of wary about Syath coming in and playing for Fusion, as you mentioned, being one of their top players, but you know, he is a comfortable substitute to have in there, and I didn't get a chance to really look at the logs, but we'll see if he can fill that the hole that Fusion left. And really the other people we're going to be looking out for is, of course, the demos, right? Justify and Ezra. I think RJ probably has a bit of an advantage there, and we'll see if the combo is going to provide the lift for Boat to finish it off, or Watterson will take it for MCM.
What I noticed looking at the logs is that Watterson was the only player who did really well in both rounds, whether his team won or lost, which is why I really want to see if he can keep it up.
And so we can see what both of these teams can do. This is 1-1 coming out here, MCM versus Boat in this bonus coverage of the lower bracket semifinals. Whoever wins this game is going to go into the lower bracket finals and have a chance to potentially go into the grand finals. Ezric busting out some strats here, using that base jumper, I believe is what it's called. American jumping in here as well. Great play out of the Pyro, using that distraction. Bunny also getting a lot of air, and they lost so many players and only got Penguin down with all of those plays. So nice job. They're out of boat to be able to survive that barrage.
Yes, but my pet peeve is actually activating again as Penguin and Syath die near the end of that. Syath, I really think overextending there. It can be very costly, but as I say that, Smiles makes up for it by counter-sniping his rival and actually going on a 3-kill streak. That's incredibly important. But Syath really playing with fire. They're dying on the flank on D in a really bad time, so I want to see him cut down on that a little bit.
And we'll see if he can do just that, as currently that hold's still sustaining onto the boat side. No real aggression coming out from MCM, but finally they're going to do that as Syath really poorly positioned right there, unnecessarily aggressive. Couch is holding on to his 100%, as looks like they want to push from the flank side or get something. Ezric getting forward, and here comes off the overcharge. It's going to be focusing down the engineer. Spades gets caught. Nice job there by Rogue, keeping his his engineer alive. Was able to keep his his gun alive. Penguin right above the medic. Coach is going to get caught in here. Down he goes with the help of the Pyro. Penguin going to try to clean up Ezric here. But there you go, great job there out of boat, as they did lose Spades, but ultimately killing the medic, and just a little bit of curious positioning out of MCM. I think they probably needed to back up once they realized their Uber wasn't working as intended.
The saving grace for that push was Evil, though, who killed both the sniper and the engineer for the enemy team. Spade Slick is still down, and that should still probably be a point eventually for MCM, even though they botched that push with their combo. I don't think that Boat can hold on for long enough to make up for their lack of an engineer, or at least they shouldn't be able to. I'd like to see them be punished for holding this far forward without an engineer.
Yeah, and look at Rogue down to half HP. Most of their team right just by is going to get cleaned up. Carson is probably going to get overextended here. Barely, no, he does not escape with his life. And they're going to be careful right now. Only 3 players are currently on this hillside, and none of them are the combo classes, none of the big hitters.
Smiles actually body shots Couches as MCM tries to follow up that aggression. So I think that you're going to see Boat probably get a bit of a forward hold here. They have full Uber advantage. Actually, Smiles has been underperforming in the first 2 rounds, but he's been by far the most important player so far. As I say that, Caster's Curse Waterson snipes him down. We'll see if Rogue can get forced out here. Couches is still only at 23%. He has to be careful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really surprised out of Boat right now. They're playing incredibly passive. I know that their demo man was down, but here comes the overcharge. Couch is incredibly close, down to half HP. Are they going to be able to get it? I can't even speak right now. My words are lost, but down goes the medic, as he apparently gets lost as well. And yeah, as you said, that Caster's Curse, or whatever you want to say, just bad positioning there out of MCM. But right now, good job there as they continue to push that cart. Only Smells nearby. Doesn't have the game sense to realize the Scout's right there, but able to keep his life. As nice job there by Boat being able to keep them off, but bad job by letting them push up that cart so far.
I don't understand. Did MCM not realize the huge Uber disadvantage they were at? Because you can't play that far forward when the other team has full Uber at. If they see you and their demo man has 2 brain cells that he can rub together, he's gonna go into your team, and that did not work out well for MCM. They are getting a lot of good cap time though. I think their best bet here is probably to use like a Scout and Deadbringer Spy and edge the cart, which I think is what they're doing. Their demo is getting some really nice spam, and yeah, that's exactly what happened. Cap time,
actually,
that's how payload works.
Well, I think a lot of teams don't appreciate how important cap time is. I talk about it all the time here when I'm casting. American overextending here does at least trade with the heavy. I guess he will be back up 14 seconds faster than his counterpart there, so not the worst trade to make. Smiles down incredibly low, getting popped back. Level 1 Sentry Gun as Couches gets forced off there, getting a little bit overextended. Penguin, nice job in that upper area. We saw the same thing happening in the DK KD matchup as Ezric almost gets pushed off the map there. So incredibly close in that Uber charge that got forced off by Penguin. Ultimately comes to nothing. Couches down also to half HP. Here comes the Scout trying to make a play onto him, and down Couches go. Great job there, and the cart even rolls back because they didn't finish it off. They're trying to protect their medic, and then Bunnies falls into the pit. This is not looking good for MCM right now.
Bit of an NA push by Couches and co. Not very impressed by that. Right Justify getting some really good damage on the cart. I think this is going to be the key to this point. If you see Boat continuing to assert their dominance on the cart path like they're doing, right Justify with that 7 kill streak, and that's only with stickies, 8 kill streak with stickies, and I saw him get some nice pipes on the cart as well. If they can't shut him down, if they're sniper, if we were calling on Waterson to go big, he needs to try to get a pick, but Penguin bombing it, hitting both Bunny and Waterson, as we're really seeing the flank and the demo of Boat go to town on this cart.
And so currently they're still defending this, but I want to point out that cart still hasn't gone up that first hill. And I know they wanted to protect Couches. Everybody ran to protect him when he died. But if somebody just would have stayed on the cart, they would be up that first hill, and they'd be in a much better spot right now. 3 hills is so hard to overcome on this point, especially when you're playing a little bit from behind. But fortunately, MCM does have slight advantage, not positionally, but on that uber charge wise, when they have about 50% uber charge advantage, and they want to get aggressive with it as Ezric leading the charge. Here we go, 100% ready to go. It's going to be popped in. Actually, the medic is going to get caught in here, easily cleaned up. Spade's now the only one to be able to try to defend this point here with the Sentry Gun, trying to keep it alive right now. He's actually doing a really good job getting some Wrangler damage out, and here comes a soldier. Penguin with a beautiful bomb in is fouled up by the Pyro. Down goes Couches, but the cart continues to move up, and so really just be to reset it as Rogue just coming back up here in a few seconds due to getting caught on a long respawn wave.
Nice play by Right Justify. He's doing so much damage, but that was really poor play by Boat. You know, you can't have your medic so overextended that he can die to a solo demo Uber, you know? That's just unacceptable at this level. And I think this is eventually going to be a point. Right Justify is still doing insane damage, but with the spawn time, it'd be kind of a miracle if Boat can hold this forever. I think eventually this is going to be a point, and yeah, there we go. 6:25 for the first 3, though, is not like the Usain Boltiest time I've ever seen. So
I like that. I like that. A little Usain Bolt time. Yeah, they're definitely going a little bit on the slower side there as 66% and continue to push it up as American does go down. So no Pyro here on the push for a little while. But I want to point out that Rogue, I died, I think before Couches did, but because of the respawn wave, it ended up giving Couches the uber advantage just because of that. But currently the defense is set in the upper area, but they're 30% behind right now, and this might come to punish them as American wants to get aggressive, but he has no uber charge. It's just going to go straight in, takes down the Demo Man. Uncontested Pyro. American just doing what Americans do, which is just blindly push forward, and here we go. Uber exchanges are going to come out on both teams. Nothing's really going to happen. Couches is going to hold forward. Actually, it looks like he's being a little bit cocky, but now the Pyro doing a great job of air blasting him. Might get punished here. Penguin not able to jump up, and down they go.
Yeah, that was the
Couches.
consequence. That was the consequence of the 2 to 3 players who died on the blue team before they even Ubered in. They just didn't have the reinforcements to come in and bail them out from that Pyro air blast, and there you go.
I mean,
as
it
we
looks
see
to
Saya,
me. Go ahead.
1v1 battles underneath. He's doing a lot of damage.
And I mean, they're continuing on, but I mean, it really looked like Couches was like, "You're Pyro, we're both Uber, nothing's gonna happen here." And then Pyro's like, "Hey, buddy, I got air blast. Hold on a second." And then they're like, "Oh crap, what can we do?" As they're gonna continue on holding on here, about 20% advantage as Couches goes down again. Nice job by Penguin doing continual work on here, and MCM is not setting a good time at all in this overtime round.
Yeah, Penguin playing extremely well. Smiles as well. He's really stepped up his game, as we said. But yeah, Penguin continually finding a way to get behind, just landing straight on the medic's head at crucial times. Couches is getting caught out a lot. Rogue has a huge Uber advantage. But we do see a couple players down on red, and it's up to MCM to see if they can make something happen with that. Evil takes down Penguin, who's been so good. What? How did Rogue end up in that situation?
Yeah, I think Rogue was pushing forward. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily a huge misplay out of him. Penguin got backstabbed, nobody else was there, and so Rogue just got butter knifed down incredibly, and then ultimately got picked off on the other side. Only 4 players up here on the defensive side. They still have the level 3 sentry gun, and the dispenser's up to defend this, so they have a chance. Penguin coming in here with the rocket launcher to defend this. And this might be the chance for MCM to do something. We'll see what they can do, as still a long respawn waves for a couple of the players, and a couple more are going to come up here as American still coming in there, takes down the sentry gun as well as the medic. And yeah, there you go. Cart goes in.
It's sad to say that with when a point is being held for as long as that one was, it usually ends up being a pretty glaring mistake from the defending team that leads to the eventual cap. And that was Rogue getting caught out at top. I guess they just didn't have enough players and reinforcements, but you can't hold up top without a lot of players around your medic, and if one player dies, I mean, you saw Penguin coming up top realizing that his medic needed some help, but you would have liked to see more players, follow his lead, and he just got caught out completely alone.
Yeah, and so we'll see what they can do here. But yeah, I mean, that was a really great job by MCM on that kind of final push. But yeah, when it comes to Boat, I mean, obviously Rogue getting picked off there by the spy after Penguin went down, yeah, maybe didn't surround himself with enough people, but I don't know. I mean, this kind of seems like as soon as their medic went down, I don't know if they held too far forward or kind of what, but they started bleeding out one by one. And I think, Boat would have had a chance to kind of get themselves afloat, take off some of the water that they just lost, but they just kind of suicided in. And then ultimately America making a great play there, taking down the sentry gun as well as the medic kind of secured the win. But 9 minutes of a time. I mean, as the gates open up here, do you think what kind of a time do you think that as you kind of see looking through the logs here, everything Mustard?
Well, I didn't really take that much of a close look at how fast the times have been so far, but I tend to think of that as fairly long given how much both medics have been dying. If your medic on defense dies as much as these medics have been dying, the time should be much faster than that. And Right Justify has also been playing incredibly well so far, so I'd like to see if he can continue that on offense. It's obviously much harder to just get that, 10 kill streak or whatever on offense, but we see him just walking straight in as well, and the Uber actually gets forced by Couches. And Smiles takes down Ezric at the same time. This is like the freest push in the world, barring some catastrophic Spire sniper pick on Rogue. So let's see if they can do that.
And they're going to make it extra free. As you can see, literally no defensive players from MCM holding on to that first point as they're already backed up to the next one. Level 3 Sentry Gun is going to be covering the exit. We're going to see kind of the DK hold, the Octopus hold, whatever you want to do it. But this might be the first time in this entire cast we're going to see a second hold aggressively on this hill, and this is a very holdable point. I mean, I think a lot of players maybe in lower levels don't try to hold this hill, but it is incredibly strong if you can get set up here, get that dispenser up, get the medic in a good spot.
Couches is at Uber disadvantage, though. It's rapidly dwindling, though, and he might be able to kite this out. As Watterson drops Rogue, that should lead to a pretty safe hopefully.
Yeah, that is just going to add a little bit of a feather to their cap as they're going to continue to hold on here. Yeah, Ezric down to 4 HP, able to find an arrow there to keep himself alive, and then he puts out the pipe, taking down Smiles. So no sniper here, but look at Heavy, as well as the Pyro just pushing here, uncontested. Right Justify getting a lot of damage out as well. They need to push them back. You can't allow free ground to be given up to the aggressive team. On offense here is Ezric now going to be disconnected from his combo. Couches does have the 100% Uber, is going to opt to use it here to try to retake ground. Rogue is going to be able to kite this Uber completely, but are they going to be able to push them off? And yes, they are. Nice pipes there out of Ezric as they're going to contain this hold, but Right Justify is still incredibly far forward. Ultimately gets picked off there by Evil, and we'll see MCM see if they can continue this second point hold, but now at a huge Uber disadvantage.
Yeah, I was going to say it shouldn't be that big a deal as long as Rogue can get out with how fast the spawns are. And I would have liked to see maybe Bunny or someone like that try to use the numbers that they had there to make a play on a Rogue. Maybe get some good positioning, a good hiding spot or something. That has not been the case, though, and Rogue now has a full Uber ad. Hopefully it won't go as bad for him as it did last time, at least for his sake, but they pop early through the cart path, and they haven't gotten a ton with this Uber so far. It's actually been pretty far denied. They finally get down the gun. Let's see what happens in this post Uber, though. As takes down Rogue.
Yeah, and only 4 players alive right now, and they're all right by the cart. Spades is going to be the first one for it, but Rue coming in from that Z side takes down 2 players. Down goes Spades. I believe that should be a team wipe, but he does get at least 1 punch in before he goes down. Couches is going to be on 85%, but here comes Penguin. He wants to make a play. He's directly above the medic, but he doesn't. He jumps too far. He didn't know where he was. He's going to take down Shay right now, and that's a good job. That's going to at least not let a sentry gun get up here, but they need to take ground. Ezric is disconnected from the medic. They're having some poor communication, and here comes a Pyro, but he didn't see the medic. Couches was right there. He could have got the pick, and now Couches holding on to 100% Uber in a very awkward spot. Ultimately does get the pop off onto Ezric, who's going to try to take some ground. Rogue goes down to about 50 HP. Evil trying to get the final shot onto him, but Rogue able to dance for his life just long enough as a scout onto the other side takes down the Heavy. This scrappy fight ultimately looking like it's going to come in the favor of both.
Yeah, I think before the Ubers even got popped, MCM was just down a couple too many players for their Uber to be forced out in a decent position. They were so defensive when it came out. And now you're going to see the gun go down, Shade's gun go down before any Uber comes out. Rogue's going to be able to use this Uber to start trying to push third. It'll be interesting to see if they let the cart push up a little bit before they go in or not. Their Uber advantage is dwindling, so they have to make a bit of a tough call here. And I'd like to see them maybe take like a demo soldier or demo scout Uber, try to get aggro on the Couches before he gets.
We'll see what
they get popped out. They get forced out by Blinksy, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst Uber in the world, but actually the Soldier Penguin just went a little bit ahead of his combo. I don't think he realized that his medic got held up there, but that's actually kind of a big deal that he got forced out, because that's going to leave Rogue at half HP. He needs to get that sandwich, but that's also going to leave Couches at about a 60% advantage. That's going to slow down this push, and we've seen it's so hard to push onto this third point without that Uber advantage. And so we'll see what they can do here as Boat currently down 4 minutes and 29 seconds to push for the final 2 points. It's definitely doable, but they're not in a really good spot right now.
What is it with these low flat teams and these solo demo Ubers with full advantage? You have a full Uber advantage. You need to get a couple of non-demo men classes in there to actually help you chase. If one Pyro can deny your complete Uber, you know, you're not really getting much done, as Blinksy is doing some nice defensive work. He finally goes down to Sayat, but there isn't a lot of cap time going down on this cart right now.
Yeah, Scythe opting to try to get that trade, but yeah, I mean, right now, you could get some decent cap time. Nobody's defending it besides Ezeric, and even he just ate a headshot there from the Spy. The Engineer and Scout need to get onto that card. Look, it's rolling back already. Both medics holding on to 100%, so now it's just kind of a question of what do both want to do, guys, in chat. Who do you think is going to go? But there you go, Waterson taking down Right Justify, and that's going to slow down that push with no Demo Man. So Carson does push up the cart. It's been pretty uncontested. Nice job there as a Boat. I mean, that's a really big misplay to MCM. They just let him have a free hill. As the Pyro coming in is going to try to push Ezeric off the cliff, but ultimately does at least kill him. Trades for his life, but here comes Ubercharge out from on the offensive side, trying to focus down this gun. Going to put some stickies underneath of it, as well as putting out some damage, but Couch is still holding on to 100%, milking it so incredibly well. The Soldier coming out, but down goes Rogue as he's holding just a little bit too far forward. The cart ultimately did get pushed up that hill, but here we go. Rogue goes down, and nobody's able to really defend this besides the Soldier. Look at the cart still continuing to push up despite the advantage that MCM had, and they're going to have to back off here as Couches is running away for his life. The Pyro trying to chase him down, but Couch is able to keep himself alive, and somehow what looks so good for MCM ultimately comes to nothing as 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and do you both believe? Because they are looking really good right now.
I find it very hard to understand what went down there. I mean, I know the Demo Man for Red, I know Ezric was dead, so he wasn't able to spam down the cart, but it looked like every single player on the cart just won their individual DM battle. You know, you saw the flank just annihilate the Heavy and Scout for Boat walked up and just completely mulched everyone who was still in, and there you go. They're getting some good ground on top, but I think the gun will be up in time, so let's see how this goes.
Yeah, and the medic dancing. I mean, they need to push Couches. I mean, doesn't have Uber yet. They need to force it out. Couch is down incredibly low. He goes down. That's a drop. That's a drop with 2 minutes left on the clock, and Rogue sitting at 87% right now. Whoever wins is going to go and have a chance to go into lower bracket finals and get their way to the grand finals. Everything is on the line right now, and we'll see what they can do. Right Justify grabbing onto the Uber. They're going to try to push into spawn. They need to get some backup right now as it's just the Demo Man, and he's not even really doing much. Ultimately does take down the Sentry Gun, but not being supported by anybody else. Rue in a really good spot. Takes down Penguin. A minute 42 as Rue's going to drop down to the cart, focusing down Rogue. Rogue barely escapes with his life. He's going to grab the full med pack as Boat just a little bit miscoordinated right there as the cart's so incredibly close, but Couches and the Devilman back up to defend this with a minute 30 left in the clock.
Yeah, that's incredible that they managed to hold that. I was not expecting that at all. Not that it's over. As Right Justify gets stabbed by Evil, that's actually an enormous pick right now. The gun's already at level 1 again. Chase getting his gun spammed down. This gun should be the #1 priority for the next couple of seconds. As Couches actually goes down again. I completely missed that, but
yeah, he was taken down by Smiles very early on. But right now, Boat with a minute left in the clock, 74 seconds on their Uber charge, and Couches is back up, starting to build right now. Level 2 Sentry Gun is being sapped, but it's going to be able to keep alive. And we'll see what Boat can do here, but pretty much only 1, maybe 2 pushes if they're lucky left, and this is looking dangerous for them right now, holding on to 100%, but trying to focus down. They want to get that gun down early. Couch is holding in that back line, but the Uber ultimately does come out. It's focusing down the gun completely. Here comes Penguin into that upper area. He's actually going to take down the sniper right away as he's get Girardi. No Sentry Gun trying to cover onto his cart, but Rogue alone on the cart. Down go he goes, and only 4 players alive for Boat with 30 seconds left.
Incredible play by Evil. He just completely mulched the combo of Boat. He like single-handedly saved that point for his team, to be honest. That man deserves a medal.
And 16 seconds left in the clock, the deciding round to be put into the finals here. Right Justify running on the cart, gets cleaned up by who? The Engineer. Penguin jumping down the cart, as well as the Heavy. 5 seconds left, they're doing everything they can. Here comes Couches with quicks. He gets taken out, down it goes. 2 seconds left in the clock, and Boat is going to go into the lower bracket finals.
That's a bit of an unfortunate ending. Everything looked like it was coming up with Couches, but not quite. And, Sigafu, do you mind if I drop a little bit of knowledge on your stream? A little bit of knowledge? People are taking umbrage with the fact that I described these two teams as low plat. I'm not basing that assessment off of their actual place in the standings. I'm basing it off of the eye test. I see this play. This is not high platinum Highlander play. This was an incredibly sloppy game where both medics died far more than they should have. And, you know, low plat's not really a legitimate placing. You know, it's kind of more of a concept. And these teams embodied that in this match. There was some good play by a couple of individual players, but overall the cohesion and the calling was just not there for me.
Well, I mean, congratulations either way to Boat to barely scraping by that win. Definitely, as you said, a little bit of a sloppy play either both teams, but they're still going to have a chance as they're going to move on to Thursday and have a chance to put themselves in the grand finals. They're going to be playing against the Kids. What an incredible finish to that game. I did not think Boat was going to do it. I mean, their medic... I'm sorry, I can't even speak right now. It just was such a crazy end there. MCM's medic was able to get a quick fix onto the cart and got focused down so quickly that he wasn't able to defend it. The heavy was just a little bit away, maybe of just a poor play out of MCM. I mean, you got to know the situation there. You know, just stand on the cart. You know, getting kills isn't you fist the steel heavy. Just stand on the cart. Be able to do something. I guess he probably wasn't on fist of steel in that moment, but just heartbreaking loss for MCM. They played their heart out that game. I definitely thought they were going to do it there at the end, but Boat persevering through. As let's pull up the logs for this final round to see if we can pull anything from it.
I've been looking at them already, and I have to give one shout to a player on the losing team, American. These hands are real. The Pyro actually top fragging. He didn't do a particularly huge amount of damage, but he got 13 kills on the enemy scout and soldier, which is not a bad thing at all. Meanwhile, Smile's actually having a very strong game. The first round that he actually neutralized Watterson for the most part. He got 7 sniper kills to Watterson's 2, and he outfragged and damaged him. Both medics died a lot, though. I mean, they still were near the bottom of their team, but to die 8 and 10 times respectively in a 20-minute upward match, it just led to all these scrappy fights where it really came down to DM, and I guess Boat won that out by the smallest margin, even without fusion. But the amount of deaths that these medics got was kind of unacceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, 8 deaths to Rogue and 10 deaths to Couches. And I mean, looking at the Pyro, I mean, I just want to say for anybody, I mean, I can't understand how unusual it is to have a Pyro top frag. I mean, but I mean, American, he was doing a good job of just, I mean, it was one of those things which it's gimmicky, it's cheese, it's a Pyro holding down the W key and using the flames,
The
but
TMP
it works.
strat. Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, the thing is, if you don't counter it, it works really, really well. It's kind of like TMP. I mean, if you have it and if you're surrounded by a team which kind of helps you out with that, it can do a lot of work. And I mean, he basically helped win them the round, I believe, or at least the overtime or whatever it was when he was able to get in that back line. And just overall, really great job. I mean, kind of the other stat lines to me, I mean, well, I guess just nobody really stands out. I mean, such an evenly close game. I'm just kind of curious. Even pulling and looking at the stats, the damage is virtually the same. Only 10 more frags here going to Boat's side. I mean, I guess that speaks to something, but I mean, really, nothing too crazy to me.
I thought one player on the losing team who also deserved credit was Evil on Spy. Near the end, he made some incredibly impactful plays. He killed the demo man for Boat. He killed Right Justify 5 times in that round, and they were all incredibly crucial picks when Right Justify was about to lead the push onto the cart. So I thought he played really well and did not deserve to be on the losing team. Another thing that stands out to me is I think Penguin had a significantly better game than Bunny on Soldier. He did almost 100 damage per minute more. He died a lot, but I felt like he was getting more crucial picks, or at least forces. Again, as you said, not a lot of this stuff is showing up in the stats per se, but I felt like a couple of the flank classes were playing more cohesive, or not more cohesive rather, but their aggression was sort of paying off. But it's tough to say because with the medics down so much, almost every player in the game has incredibly high death totals, with the exception of Carson and Smiles and the demos being a little bit lower, but it was just such a messy game. And I guess another player who I have to call out a little bit is Shay, dying 16 times on Engineer. That's very messy. I'm not sure who he was dying to. Actually, I'm looking at it now, and he died a significant amount to the Demo Man and the Spy, which are kind of the classes you should be watching out for the most to begin with. So I would have liked to see him stay alive a little bit more, but, you know, it was just a really sloppy round overall.
Well, we'll see if they can make it a little bit less sloppy. As you said, they had a couple ringers on their team Boat here tonight, so we'll see if they'll get them back. I think it was 3 different players from their standard team, so we'll see if they'll have a chance. But they're going to be moving into the lower bracket finals. We'll be casting that, guys, this Thursday at 9:30 Eastern. It'll be a best of 3, so it's going to be a nice pick ban system. We'll get a little bit more information about that. But congratulations to DK moving into the upper bracket, or they're just moving into the finals. That was the upper bracket finals. What am I saying? And the lower bracket finals will be on this Thursday, so make sure you tune in. That'll be the Kids versus Boat. We'll see if Boat can pull up the upset there and put themselves into the finals and make everybody Boat leave. And we can do with that. Mustard, as we're kind of closing this out, any kind of final thoughts you want to toss out here of the matches we saw here tonight?
Well, one thing I want to say in terms of previewing that lower bracket finals between Candy and Boat, obviously Candy, even despite their struggles, still looking, in my opinion, like a much better team overall. But a lot does hinge on whether Boat can get Fusion back. Fusion just has that sort of, combo scout playstyle that can be really devastating if you can get him in those Ubers. I mean, he arguably could have prevented some of his medics' deaths. He could have made some of those solo demo Ubers more effective. Having that sort of aggro pocket scout who's comfortable playing with those heals and taking Ubers can really give your team another dimension, even on payload maps. And I don't know what the best of 3 lower bracket finals maps are, unfortunately, but I think Fusion being back and playing up to his standards is the best outcome that they can hope for, because even though Slemnish is probably a better scout in 6s than Fusion, I think Fusion's particular playstyle really suits Highlander. So I think he's just a huge part of that team.
Yeah, I've seen Fusion play before, and I love him as a scout. He's got the DM, but he's got the intelligence too, which is something that often gets lost on 6's scouts, is they don't translate over to Highlander. They just don't understand the role, and Fusion does that so well. So we'll see what we can do with that. As we're closing up here, Mustard, any shout-outs you want to give before we close it out?
Shout out to some of my old teammates like Tixif and Davey C, who I saw lurking in the chat a little bit earlier. I mean, I will confess, I did message a bunch of people, spamming them that I was going to be casting tonight, but people seem to enjoy it, and it's nice to see some old faces from my, long since washed up Highlander career, but, always fun.
Of course. Vox Day, my man behind the camera, get off from behind and give us a shout out here.
Yeah, shout out Watterson. I'm rostered on MCM. This was a great game. A little bittersweet for me because I wanted that number 3 on a badge that I earned, quote unquote. But honestly, the guys from MCM, just crazy awesome season. I don't think anyone expected them to get so close as to miss out on placement by literally 2 seconds. But so really hold your head up, guys. I'll see you later. And Boat, I mean, congrats. They definitely earned that 3rd place badge, no doubt. So congrats to them as well.
And I like to give shout-outs to, up and coming players, and I thought the pick classes on MCM both acquainted themselves very well, or gave a good account of themselves. You saw Watterson and Evil making some really impactful frags, so hopefully they can continue to rise.
And we'll see what they can do as they continue on in their quest for the grand finals, for the glory, for the Season 19 title. As guys, don't forget, this Thursday, 9:30 Eastern, we'll be joined out here. It'll be the kids versus Boat. Definitely don't miss it. I am Sigafu, joined out here with Mustard Overlord and Vox Day on camera. It was great to have you guys. Always wonderful in chat. Toss a heart out in the chat. I love you guys so much, and I will see you Thursday.